Most people spend months and years trying to sew their own clothes without actually wearing anything they've made in public. I hear this way too often, and the two most common reasons for this are that they tried a project that skipped a step, they got confused on, didn't turn out how they expected, or they picked the wrong fabric. Has this happened to you? It's okay, it's really common and happens in the beginning, but it tends to mean that you're spending lots of time trying these projects that don't turn out, using up fabric, and then it doesn't turn into what you want, so you can't actually wear it. And then you're spending all this time and energy trying to sew clothing, and then you're not actually wearing anything that you've made. It can get really frustrating, which is why I want to offer you a beginner-friendly project that is super easy, pretty hard to mess up, and looks great no matter what fabric you pick. And of course, I'm talking about the circle skirt. This is a timeless, elegant look, and it can be made with lots of different kinds of fabrics. Pretty much anything you pick will look good on this skirt. I haven't found anything that doesn't work yet. So if you are ready to finally start a project and finish it and be proud to wear it in public, let's dive into how to make this skirt so you can make this happen. Now, you definitely can use any fabric for this project, but I want to kind of give you an idea of what the different fabrics will look like. So if you pick a fabric that's a little bit more structured, like it likes to hold its shape, then you're going to end up with a skirt that's a little bit fuller at the bottom, like this one. It's kind of like 1950s, very like poodle skirt-ish. But don't worry, as long as you don't put the poodle on it, this will not look like a poodle skirt. And then on the other side of the spectrum is if you pick a fabric that is very loose and flowy, you will end up with a skirt that looks something like this. Okay? So you can pick anything in between. This skirt looks great with everything, but if there's a specific look you're going for, maybe you want the volume, or maybe you want something a little bit sleeker and flowier, this kind of gives you the range of where this skirt can go. So there is no pattern for this project because I want to make this really easy and straightforward. So we're just going to draw some circles on some fabric, and that will be the base for these skirts. Okay? Now, to make these circles, we need to figure out how big around you are for wherever you want the skirt to sit. Okay? So if you want the skirt at your waist, measure your waist. If you want the skirt at your hips, measure at your hips. And all you need to do is take a tape measure, it's like pulling back in, a tape measure of one like this, wrap it around you gently, and take that number, okay? This doesn't have to be too precise. Don't worry if you're off by a couple of centimeters or an inch, there will be no difference, I promise. So get an idea close to what your measurement is and write it down. Now, the next thing we need to do is measure how long you want the skirt to be. So wherever you want the top of the skirt, hold your tape measure and then let this fall down in front of you. Okay, now a hint or a tip for you here is what you don't want to do is take your tape measure and put it in front of you like this, and then kind of go, let's see, I want it to be, because the problem is when you stand up, it's going to be shorter than you measured. So instead of doing that, stand in front of a mirror, look in the mirror, and decide how long you want your skirt to be while looking at the tape measure in the mirror, okay? This will go much better for you, I promise. Now that we have those two measurements, we need to do a little bit of math. So I'm going to put the equation on the screen now, but if math isn't your strong suit or it's making you a little bit nervous, don't worry, I've put a calculator for you down below in the description that you can use, and it will help you find your A and your B measurement, which we will use to figure out how much fabric we need for this project. So use the calculator, use this equation, whatever you want to do, but figure out how much fabric you need for this project. Okay, got it? Perfect. Now that we know how much fabric we need, we'll also need matching thread and then all the usual sewing supplies. And if you're brand new to sewing and you're not sure what supplies you need, or maybe you're still not 100% sure how to use your sewing machine, don't worry, I've got you covered. Down below is my free mini course on getting started sewing your own clothes. Shows you how to like unbox your machine, what tools you need, that kind of stuff. So if you need it, it's down there. But now that you know how much fabric you need and you have your thread, let's start sewing this skirt. And of course, because we don't have a pattern, the first thing we're going to do is draw out our circles on the fabric using the A and B measurements that we got in the last step. Okay, so I hope you have them written down. So first, we're going to take our A plus B measurement and measure from the corner of our fabric over that amount. Okay, mark it. And then what we're going to do is take that A and B measurement and measure it in a circle. So I'm going to keep one end of my ruler here at the point I marked, and then I'm slowly going to rotate it in a circle, marking that same A plus B distance all the way around until I have half of a circle. Then once I put all those marks down, I can go back and connect them, and now you'll see there's my half circle, okay? Perfect. Now, we're going to repeat the same step again, but this time use the same center points, but now we're going to go only distance A, not distance A plus B, okay? So we're going to measure distance A, draw all these little dashes, and then connect them. Perfect. Now we have 2 circles, and we're going to use this to make your circle skirt. Now, let's cut out the big circle all the way around, but before we cut out the small circle, we need to sew it first. If we don't, when we pick it up, we can stretch it out and then it will get too big. So to prevent this, we're going to stitch around the inner circle. So we're going to bring it to the sewing machine, and we're just going to use a big loose stitch, usually a stitch length of 4, and just sew around this edge using like a 1/2 centimeter or 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay. Then once we've sewn around that, we can cut out the inner circle. Perfect. The circle skirt is now ready. We just need straps because remember, this is a wrap skirt like this. Okay, so for the straps, we're going to cut out 2 rectangles that are going to be 80 centimeters long plus your waist measurement. Okay, that's how long they will be. And then they will be 8 centimeters wide. On my fabric, I don't have enough room to do 2 strips that long. And so don't worry if you don't either. You can just sew a couple of pieces together to make them long enough. Like I'm doing here. I just have 2 short strips. I'll just sew them together, and so I get 2 long strips, okay? So now that we have the circle skirt and we have 2 strips, we are actually ready to start sewing. For the sewing, we're going to start with the 2 long straight edges of our circle skirt. We're going to bring them to the ironing board, and we're going to fold them towards the wrong side, 1 centimeter, iron it in place, then fold it one more time, 1 centimeter, and iron it in place. Now, again, this is not super precise. If you do a little bit more or a little bit less, it'll be totally fine. Then repeat this on the other side of the skirt. And now that we've ironed both, we're just going to stitch these down on the sewing machine. Yay! Okay, now we're going to repeat this process with one end of each strap. Okay, so we'll take our straps to the ironing board, fold them back 1 centimeter, iron, 1 centimeter, iron, repeat for the other side, and sew in place. Now that we've finished sewing these straps, the next thing we need to decide is which side of our skirt is going to be visible from the outside. And when I say that, what I mean is we can see this part of Betty's dress, or skirt, sorry. But if I look under here, here's the other side, okay? So one side is going to be hidden when you're wearing the skirt, and one side will be visible. So if you sewed one of these sides a little bit neater than the other, I would pick the neater side to be the outside, okay? So pick a side, it doesn't matter which one, they both work the same. So pick a side And then from that corner, we're going to measure around our waist measurement minus 8 centimeters, and then mark that along the curve. At this point that we just marked, we're going to take the two ends of our straps that we folded over and ironed and sewed in place, and we're going to put them end to end right here at this point and pin them in place. Once that's pinned in place, we're going to line up the edge of our strap with the small curve of the small circle of our circle skirt. Oh, lots of words small and curve there. But I hope it makes sense on camera. And we're just going to pin this in place as you go around. And you'll probably find as you're pinning this that the waistband wants to curve and sit up, kind of like a little wall. This is totally normal. It's going to happen. You're doing it right. Okay, so once we have that all the way pinned in place, we're going to bring it to the sewing machine and sew it using a 1 centimeter or 1/2 inch seam allowance. We're going to sew all the way around that curve. And now you have the waistband attached to the skirt. Yay! You're doing so good. Okay, so now we're going to focus on the waistband and try to get it finished. To do this, we're going to take our skirt to the ironing board and we're going to pull the waistband up and away from the skirt and then press the seam allowance towards the waistband. I'm going to press this up all the way around, and then what we're going to do is move to the end of our strap. We're going to fold the end in 1 centimeter, and then we're going to fold the long edges of our strap in towards the middle 1 centimeter as well. Now a note, my waistband is for Betty, who is very small, so my waistband is very tiny. Yours is going to be wider than mine, so don't let that throw you off, okay? So we're going to fold in 1 centimeter on the long edge and iron this all the way down. Once you've done that, when we get to the skirt, you'll see we've already ironed one side of the waistband up when we iron the seam allowance. Now we're going to iron the top down so it's even all the way from the end of our strap all the way around. Okay? Now that we've ironed the long edge all the way down, we're going to take the entire waistband and fold it in half. And we're going to take that top folded edge and fold it down to our previous stitch line if we're looking at the skirt part. Or we're just going to fold the waistband in half on top of itself so that both folded edges line up together. Okay, iron this in place all the way down, and that's one strap done. Now we just repeat this process for the other strap. Oh my gosh. Okay, two more steps, and then the waistband is done. So now that we've ironed everything, we need to sew it. We're going to bring it to the sewing machine and we're going to sew all the way from this corner. We're going to sew down to this corner, and wait, once you're here, put your needle down into the fabric, raise your presser foot, and turn everything. This is pretty cool, right? And then you're going to put the presser foot down and keep sewing. That way you have a really nice, neat corner here on the end. Then you're just going to sew all the way down. Then when you get to this end, do the same thing. On this corner, put your needle down, raise your presser foot, turn your project, and put your presser foot down, and then sew to the end, and don't forget to backstitch. Now, a word of warning, when you sew your waistband, you want to do it with the wrong side of your skirt facing up. So you can actually see the wrong side of your skirt when you're sewing. Why? The reason that you want to do this is because you can actually see where that fabric is folded over and make sure that you're sewing it and you're not missing it. So for example, here's the side that I sewed from the back that you just saw me do. And here's footage from when I sewed it from the other side. Okay, it looks great on video from here, but when I take it off the machine and I flip it over, we can see I missed a lot of sections. And this is really common to do if you're sewing from the front of your skirt or the right side. So don't sew from that side, sew from the wrong side, okay? Now that you have sewn all the way along the waistband, the last step for this is to take these two ends that we have open right now, and we need to sew them together to create a little hole. Now, why do we want this little hole? That's because on a wrap skirt, we have two straps, and this strap comes around our body, and it needs to come through the waistband, right here. So we need a hole in the waistband for this strap to come through, okay? And then we can tie these together. And that's what that's going to become. It's the hole for your strap. So to sew this, we're going to take a needle and thread, and we're going to poke the needle through the top U shape of our strap at about a 45-degree angle. And we're going to pull it, but don't pull it all the way through. Leave a little tail. And we're going to repeat the same motion a second time. And then on the third time, we're going to go slow, and we're going to leave this little loop. And we're going to put our needle through the loop. Doesn't matter which way. Just go through the loop, and you'll create a knot, and that will hold this thread in place while we continue sewing. Now we're going to move to the other corner, and we're going to do the same motion, but in reverse. We're going to start at the top and go down through the U at a 45-degree angle. And we're going to pull this tight. We have a little bridge that goes across these corners. And then we're going to repeat this going up at a 45-degree angle on one side, and then back down at a 45-degree angle on the other side. And we're going to repeat this 4 or 5 times. Make sure it's nice and strong. Make sure we're not going to accidentally break it. And then once we've gone around 4 or 5 times, we need to knot this off. So when we come down at this 45-degree angle this time, we're going to stop, and we're going to go through the middle of our hole, and we're going to go all the way around once. On the second time, we're going to go slow and create this loop again. We're going to go through the loop, knot it, and we're going to repeat this knot 3 times to make sure, again, it's nice and secure. And once you've done this, you have finished sewing the waistband, and now we have this little hole to put our strap through. So I'm going to demo here really quick, but this is going to make your skirt so cute when you're wearing it. Now that we've attached our waistband, what we need to do is take our skirt and hang it up somewhere. That's right, we're not going to finish this just yet. We need to hang it up overnight or up to a week. Now, I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details of this because I think it's a bit more than you need right now, but basically, when we cut a circle out of fabric, we're dealing with something called the bias. And if you'd like more information on that, you can check out my video here, or you can give it a Google, okay? But we need to hang the skirt for about a week, and then we're going to bring it back to the table, and we're going to measure the skirt all the way around again. Now remember, when we sewed the skirt to the waistband, we lost 1 centimeter to seam allowance. So when we measure the skirt now, we want to use our B measurement minus 1 centimeter, okay? So using that, we're going to measure all the way around, and you might find that some areas of your skirt have gotten a little bit longer. This is normal, and it's caused by bias. So again, if you want to research that, you're welcome to, but just know it's normal and it happens. All we need to do is mark our B minus 1 measurement all the way around for any areas that got longer, connect those marks, and cut it off. Now we have a perfect circle again. We shouldn't get any more bias issues. And now we're ready to actually hem this so you can start wearing it. Now, I know this is a bit annoying, but I am not going to include how to hem the skirt right now, because when you want to hem a curved hem, that could be for lots of different projects, not just a circle skirt. So I'm going to make that video, so if you ever need it for reference, you have it as a standalone video. You don't have to skim through this one to find that information. Okay, so it will be posted right here. And if you found this video helpful, I would absolutely love for you to subscribe and follow along. I'm always trying to help absolute beginners start sewing clothes they love. And if you have a sewing machine that you're just still a little bit intimidated by, not sure how to use, and you're just funneling through how-to videos but not actually sewing anything yet, don't worry, I've got you covered. We've all been there. But down below is a free mini course on how to get your machine out of the box and start using it in just 30 minutes or less. So if that would help you, it's down there. And if there's some other sewing question you have, let me know in the comments below because I'll make a video just for you. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one and happy